Hey there, this is Kat with Taming the Tangle, and I'm so excited that you got a moon calendar. I am going to go over the moon calendar that I designed specifically, the Taming the Tangle moon calendar in this video. You may want to listen to it if you have another moon calendar just to pick up on some other information, but just so you know, all of the other videos will work with any moon calendar as long as they have the same type of information on them. Um, so that's fine because we'll get more into how to work with the moon calendar. So the first thing I wanted to show you is just like here is the 2020 moon calendar, just so you can see a year as a whole. And then I'm going to slip the 2021 moon calendar in front of it so you can see how it looks very different every year, where the new moons fall, where the full moons fall, and the type of pattern that they make. So that's one thing that is just really fun about having a moon calendar that is all on one page. Now, I designed my moon calendar to be what I call a modern moon calendar. And that means it starts on January 1 of the year and it ends on December 31st of the year. Some moon calendars go through moon cycles. They might start on the new moon and go from there. And I just like mine to just cover the year because even though I work with mystical and magical energetics, I also kind of work in this world, the whatever you call it, the muggle world or whatever, and like the two of them to blend together. So it's just easier for me and my sensibilities to want it to go from January 1 to December 31st. So that's what my calendar does. One of the first things that you will most likely notice when you're looking at a month that goes all the way across is the different sizes of the moon cycles. So like here's a really little one, and then it comes up and it increases in size till you get to the new moon, and it decreases in size until you get to the quarter moon and comes back up again until you get the full moon. And the reason why I fluctuated the size of the moons is because energy in general is more intensified on the new moon and the full moon. And it feels more balanced on these little quarter moons. Now that's a generalization because that's the beauty of working with moon calendars is you get to tune into if that is true for you. And that is just an awareness practice where you can kind of look and go, okay, and what does that mean for you? What does heightened energy look like? I have worked with some people who are extremely sensitive to the full moon and they don't sleep that well, feel a little bit more agitated. It is fairly common knowledge that traffic accidents and tickets and stuff like that go up on full moons. So it does have an influence on our lives, whether or not we are aware of it, the energy of the moon. The new moon tends to be a little bit more subtle and quiet, but it is also, one of the extremes of the phases. And so I wanted to honor that. And I actually tend to feel much more creative around the new moon. And I feel activated in a different type of way, whereas I don't notice so much on the full moon. I pick up on other people's energy. So you get to tune in to that for yourself. But that is, why there is a fluctuation in the sizes. So I'll see if I can zoom in here. Hopefully you have your calendar in front of you so you can see. You can see at above each moon phase on the day says the date, then what day of the week it is, abbreviated obviously, and then what astrological sign the moon is in right now. And then up, since this is January 1, it also indicates the sun sign. Except for January 1, the sun sign is only shown on the day that it begins because that holds constant until it changes, whereas the moon phase changes it passes through a different sign every 2 to 3 or 4 days. And it's, constantly shifting. The other types of symbols that you will see here is you can see the squiggly line there that's going through the moon phases in February, the squiggly line indicates whenever Mercury is in retrograde. So even though this calendar is about connecting with the moon and working with the moon energetics and tuning in as to how that impacts you, Mercury retrograde was a request by my early adopters of the moon calendar because it has such a big energetic influence on so many people, on our communications, on technology. So it's there for you to observe. Now, the tricky thing with observing things and having awareness is not to overly anticipate and then make all that stuff come true, but just sometimes I'll look up and I'll go, oh, it is coming. And I actually already feel this energy for me to tune in and be more clear with my communications, things like that. So the symbols on here are just to help inform you. And as you learn to work with the moon calendar, I'll go into more about how those symbols can help you. And then let me scroll over a little bit more so you can see there is a big star. And so that big star, since this one is in March, that is for the spring equinox. So there are 4 stars on the calendar marking the equinoxes and the solstices. And so those all happen as our change of the seasons, essentially, and they can be pagan high holidays or whatever terminology works for you, but just to tune into that. And then let's see if I can get my finger there. You can see that some moons also have a little tiny feather. That feather is to let you know that there is an eclipse on that moon phase. And, once again, just awareness that, eclipses are energy and pattern disruptors. So it's nice to know when they're happening. So the other thing that I want to talk about is all of this information that is at the bottom of the calendar, because we'll get into how to use the calendar for tracking in some of the other videos. But the cool thing is that when you have this calendar, you can also learn from it. So there are some energy words, just some things that correlate with the different phases of the moon. So with the new moon, waxing moon, first quarter moon, full moon, waning moon, and the last quarter moon. And that can be helpful if you like setting intentions or doing any spell work, anything like that, to just tune into when, in many ways, you can do whatever work you want whenever you're feeling the call to do it. But if you want a little extra energy behind it, you can line it up with the moon phase, So if you're calling in something, it is nice to do that as the moon is waxing and getting brighter, heading towards the full moon. If you're releasing, trying to break some habits, it can be nice to align with the moon, with the waning moon energetic. Like I said, it's not required, but it's just beautiful to tune in. And that's the other type of practices that you can cultivate. Now, for me, I am not beholden to the moon phases. Somebody asked me once, do I plan all of my appointments and everything around moon phases? That would just make me crazy personally. I do like just in some aspects of being able to go with the flow and put things on my calendar, tune in, all of that type of thing. And I do that on my cell phone. But I like cultivating this relationship with the seasons, with the moon, with all of these cycles, because they let me know and remind me that everything is changing, and that it's okay to change. It's actually natural to do so, encouraged to do so, and to continue to evolve. And that I, as a person, don't have to remain the same. There's not this quest for perfection and always showing up identically, like just be a little bit more feminine, because moon energy is very feminine and it fluctuates in that way. And, that also shows with how the moon not only changes with how much light it's reflecting back, but how frequently it passes through signs, whereas the sun is more masculine energy and it stays constant in a sign for close to a month. So below the moon phases here is also a little something that lets you know the sun sign indicator, what it looks like, tells you reminds you that it's constant. And then I'm going to read this at the bottom, because next to that also um, lets you know that the new moon during the sun sign cycle. So the new moon is the same as the sun sign. So if we are in Virgo, the new moon will be in Virgo. And the full moon is the opposite of the sun sign. And there is a chart that I'll be showing you in just a minute of the different astrological signs, and I've lined them up so you can see their pairs. So, you know, the quote unquote opposite of Virgo, or the partner to Virgo, is Pisces. So during Virgo season, the full moon will be in Pisces. And so that is just a really cool astrological connection that the more you get to know about astrology, that you can just deepen into that beautiful energy of how all of these signs work together as well, to teach us lessons and to show us that dance of how energies mix together, that they don't have to be these polar opposite balances, that they flow together like the caduceus, the snakes together, things like that. So then the next section of this moon calendar here goes through some other signs. It lets you know that the star is either an equinox or a solstice, that the feather symbol is an eclipse, and then it also lets you know that eclipses only happen on new moons and full moons. So when it's a new moon, it'll be a solar eclipse. When it is a full moon, it'll be a lunar eclipse. And depending on where you are in the world, you will have to find out if you have visibility, how significant it is, things like that. But it's just nice to know that energy. And then it also lets you know that the squiggly line is Mercury retrograde, and has some words for, you know, some guidance for Mercury retrograde of how to work with it, like unplug, simplify, patience. Have some patience. That's good anytime, but especially during Mercury retrograde. And then we get over to the two astrological columns here. Let's see, let me get that lined up. And so the first astrological sign in the wheel of the zodiac is Aries. And so it lets you know the element for the astrological sign and the correlating planet that goes with it. So, you know, it goes through those in order: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. And then we go to the next column where it's Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. And that completes the whole wheel. And you also get to see how those follow a pattern of the elements: fire, earth, air, water. And then it starts again: fire, earth, air, water. And then it repeats that one more time: fire, earth, air, water. So you start seeing how there are other cycles at play in addition to the moon calendar. And there's also just a little notation off to the side where you see my website, my name there, just to let you know that all of these positions, sign changes, all of that are based on Pacific Standard Time in the US. They do shift slightly wherever you are. It's always a tricky call, you know, something's at 12:01 a.m., all of that. So just know that I do the best I can with the information that I get off of many sources from the internet and some astrologers that I know. So it's just a guideline. And now with social media, you know, you'll see some people posting about the new moon a couple days before the new moon. And that's also why I like having a calendar, just checking in of when do I want to honor that, looking in the sky. You don't just have to look at the piece of paper, start connecting with the actual moon and what you see of it. And you know, confirming that for yourself where you are. I have worked with other moon calendars in the past that were in a different time zone than I was, and I still found them extremely useful, even if it was just shifted, you know, a day off here or there, because nothing is completely set in stone, you know, so we can trust the cycles and the changes and the patterns that they go in, but there might be little subtle time differences. So just know that this is as accurate as I'm able to make it. And Within that, it covers all of the overview of the different things on the moon calendar as a whole. Each year, there is a theme for the year. 2020 was vision, a very common theme that came up during 2020 because it's something that we refer to as 2020 eyesight, having clear vision, all of that. And that has been very interesting in the year 2020 to see what's been revealed and what comes into our sight. 2021 is presence. I feel like it's going to be a year of what you have to be with, you know, what's present for you, what's up, um, all of that. So these words come to me in different types of ways, and you can have your theme. I also have a personal word of the year that comes to me, so don't feel like that theme has to dictate anything in particular for you. Just tune in and see if it's resonant, and what comes up for you around that. So in the other lessons, we'll go over each of those things in more depth, but I just wanted to cover some of the specific components of the moon calendar. And one thing that I will mention lastly is that this calendar is an 11 by 17 calendar to have a little bit more space for tracking. It is a nice thick paper, so it hangs up on the wall really well. And for my tracking, I do it on another copy of this calendar that I fold up. So I actually like having two copies because I have one copy that I hang up by my work desk that I can refer to. And then I have a folded up copy that I keep in my bedroom that I put little symbols on, because I do just like having one beautiful poster version to look up at and just be reminded, especially if it's a challenging time or I'm having a tough day. Oh, this is one day of 365 days. And it just tunes me into that bigger picture thing of one day of many. There have been, you know, thousands upon thousands of days, and there are many more to come. And so I just like having a simple, beautiful reminder of that, and that I can look at to tune into the cycles, but I like keeping one unmarked, personal preference. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions at all. I'm here for you, and have fun connecting with the moon, and I will see you in the other videos.